Hello everyone, and welcome to some more Blood Bowl. We're in week 5. I am Complacent Badger.
I'm Sierra Kilo.
I'm Gimpy.
And yes, Gimpy is our special guest for this week.
I figured Sierra Kilo made fun of all of my games for the last 4 weeks. I would take one of his.
That's an excellent plan.
Yep, and on that note, we are going to be watching the Crazy 8's versus the Nordic Kneecappers.
I'm pretty excited to show you guys this game.
It looks like it's going to be pretty exciting.
I might know some of the things that are going to happen.
I'm shocked by this.
This is a terrifying game. Like my last game against the Hills Have the Ball was scary, but that was less scary than that big motherfucker chilling on the pitch right there.
Mm-hmm.
And a bit of a spoiler, Action Jackson had a phenomenal game. He frustrated the living bejesus out of me the entire first half. But it was just such a fun game overall.
It's good. So we got nice weather, brilliant coaching on the kick, giving Action Jackson an extra reroll. He's going to have 6 rerolls for this half.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I like to hear.
Starting off with the defender stumbles and, you know, first block is a blitz that pens for a stun, so that's always fun.
That's what my werewolves do.
Yeah. Is that Bulldog? Nope, that's Puppy Dog Face, not my son.
Yep, Mighty Blow. That helps a lot.
All day.
So my purpose here is to create a good situation for me later in the game. So I kind of defended the ball, as you see.
So,
and then
both down, and that armor value 10 did nothing with Claw being played, so...
yeah, still knocked Brett silly.
Yeah.
But that's what he was there for, really. Like, he's there to take out the big guy, and he's still going to use that horns against me, man, just all over the place.
Yeah. Ooh, 2 go for it, but he does tag up that player over there, lineman.
Yeah. I don't know why he did that. I mean, it didn't really benefit anybody to get in contact with my linemen.
It's field presence. I've been known to do it sometimes as well.
Right. But having one guy there, I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, it's not gonna make or break, but it is an interesting thing.
Right.
So keeping with the fundamentals.
Fundamentals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Creating that cage, noticing that you don't really need too much on the back right since you have that kind of a wall set up on the flank, holding hands on the right with that Herald.
Right. Because I don't feel like he's gonna be able to get away for a dodge into a beneficial place. He's gonna have to dodge back and away, and then do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched a lot of the replays. And
what?
I've noticed that he doesn't like to do a lot of dodge moves. So I figure once that dude's tied up, he's tied up.
Yeah.
Well, he's tagging up your entire cage, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to contest it as much as possible. Yeah. That horns is such a cage breaker, though, man.
Absolutely, and that's a tough place to be for me. So this is kind of what I mean by frustrating me the entire first half, is just playing very smart Blood Bowl, and then I had to react and play some really smart Blood Bowl as well.
Yeah, he's got you almost over a barrel here with that presence on your ball carrier.
Right, Brett Wild Animals. So thanks, Brett.
Yep. Doing his thing, man. He's done his 1D for the half, so.
Right? Let's see if I can get him up later. But just to talk about what we were discussing last week about the wild animal and the foul, you are 100% correct, and that foul action did require a wild animal roll.
Okay.
So in the last video, we didn't see it because it happened so fast, but I ended up getting a 6 on that. So
cool.
I just watched it before we did the video here.
Good. I'm glad you checked that out. Thank you.
No, I was totally mistaken when I never would have made that a thing that I was doing with Brett if I knew that it was requiring an action.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, armor pens for days.
Yeah, I love that.
Got some nice space going though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did open that up so your cage isn't falling apart anymore. It's not exactly the cage we want to see, but he wasn't on you, so.
Right, but given the options, that was he did a really good job of getting himself in there, putting the presence, and then I had to return the favor and do my best to get him off of me as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Going for that scary one-die frenzy, having to use a go for it to get in there too, and pushes not the worst. Lost some yards there.
Right.
He does have a safety set up that's pretty good.
And that's what ends up helping me out ultimately, is him having a couple as players. Now, as you see, Brett Wild Animals again, so that does me 0 good.
Yeah, I have to say, if you have horns, especially with Juggernaut, I don't think you need 2 safeties. You usually use 2 safeties in case you're worried about a strength difference. But with horns, man, you get that strength 4 on the blitz. Your safeties usually always have to be the one blitzing. I don't think you need to commit that much to the safety.
That's what I'm saying. So I penned again up there
Mm-hmm.
and got the ball carrier out. But that's where it kind of helps because I had a guy pinned on the ground from a previous stunned another guy, and this is where I'm able to kind of get some players in and loose. And this is just a lot of shuffling bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get good numbers, trying to block pathways. That frenzy helped a lot. I was just trying to push that guy toward Brett. Hopefully Brett would stand up and just paw somebody.
Yeah, I don't know if jumping adjacent to that guy was going to help. But if you blitz that guy, that's not a bad move. But, ooh, dangerous one-die right there. But it worked out.
We all know how much Jake loves one-die rolls.
Yes. Getting up, not actually blocking the lane over there to the left, which you usually want to contain the run towards the center. Wow, Brett, Wild Animal, great.
Like you said earlier, he got paid for this half already.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're gonna have a clear to the over on the flank if you want it, but then you do have to deal with.
Right, and I think that he didn't really need to do that because the way that his players are set up versus my players, I'm not going out too far because I don't have any support. So that's, though I could get a lot of movement there, I'm not protected. So move back toward the center, try to reestablish your cage, try to figure out the best way to get other players loose to move up the field because he's, like I said, tied me up a lot, playing some really smart Blood Bowl here.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw was that werewolf being able to tie up this safety, and then you had enough players that you could have potentially opted to move over and maybe tie up a guy or two, so it would have been more difficult. And even if you dropped the ball, you're a little farther along with all his guys being tied up on the right.
Right. So we see it's turn 5 right now, so at this point I realized that chances of getting all the way down the pitch weren't great, so I just needed to stay safe and not do anything bad.
Broken ribs.
That's tough, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But considering all the damage that I do on a weekly basis, that's not the worst thing that could happen.
No, and you got lucky there with that failed dodge roll.
Right? Wild Animal again. But I could have used an apothecary, but I figured it's fairly early, and I do have a 13-player roster,
yeah,
so
a miss next game is not bad.
Right. Considering that, of all the things that we've seen recently where we're getting stat negatives.
That's not fun.
All right, so kind of got paid back for that luck on that dodge roll. Snake eyes on dodges.
Yep, super tough.
You had a good presence around the ball. Ball landed in a pretty advantageous place as well, so I don't think you lost a lot there.
I agree with you there, and that's one of those things where we say, hey, things aren't always going to go your way, but can you make it so that it's not as bad?
Yeah, he got lucky on that push. That was... Oh, that was not... I don't think that's what he needed to be doing right there.
Right. I think that was a little bit greedy. He's looking at the clock and saying, hey, maybe it'll go. I can go both ways on that. I think that
Who was he passing
another
that
turn
to? I guess that was a scatter. I guess he was trying to pass it to this pit fighter right here.
Yeah,
and it
that's
scattered.
what it was.
Yeah.
Yep. So that could have been a huge benefit. Granted, I think that he realizes that I'm not going to get a touchdown no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So playing around with the ball if he has to, that's all right. But he's throwing it to a pit fighter, and the pit fighter is in a tackle zone. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
But he had 2 turns, right? So 6th movement, he would be able to run it down potentially, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was looking at. But I don't know if he had the player presence to be able to protect the ball carrier, especially with those werewolves still running around.
Fair enough.
But I probably would have opted to hold on to it, maybe go for a couple go-for-its to just get it a couple extra yards, maybe peel one guy off towards the end zone to get it, a couple extra choices rather than just kind of chucking it. Where if he would have caught it, then I would have had to shut the hell up. But luckily he didn't.
Right,
so
and that's what we
now.
say. It's that risk versus reward. Maybe that was the right time for a risk for him because he finally got the ball away from me and had an opportunity. So.
Yeah. And like you were saying, it's not very likely that you were going to score either way. So
right. So the negative wasn't bad.
Ball bouncing around, but he's still in prime position to score. If you can't do anything, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can score at that. But it looks like
not from. Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, this is one of these two characters is going to be the one that's going to need to score, but it looks like he's going to keep that from happening. Yeah, that guy's not scoring.
I'll do it.
That's so he's not the one scoring today.
Yeah.
This guy still has the chance. He's got to go for some going for it, but.
Yeah, I counted it out, and there's not a good way for him to get to that ball, and then I picked it up anyways. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a definite player advantage on your side right now.
Fortunately, Brett's got someone all tied up there on the ground with him.
He got a snuggle buddy.
He's literally done one thing the entire half.
And it was a huge play.
The most important thing possible.
Let's lay down with the bloodthirster.
Dude, that was like even if it killed Brett, it wouldn't have been too heartbroken. Like Brett and I have a love-hate relationship. Like when he's good, he's so good. But then he just lays down for forever and does nothing. And I'm just Brett.
So that bloodthirster's back.
Yeah, how terrifying. So I went through an entire half not having to worry about him, and I couldn't score. So and I had the ball. So now he's gonna have the ball. He's gonna have a bloodthirster. He's playing top-notch Blood Bowl. He's got 5 re-rolls versus my 4. And to be fair, neither one of us went through all of our re-rolls last half.
Nope.
There weren't a lot of opportunity and or needs. Like when it went bad, it went bad. There wasn't anything about it.
There wasn't terribly a lot of turnovers either. At least no glaring ones. Majority of the turns you got to hit the button. So I mean that shows either really good rolls or really good Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both is I'm pretty confident in how that all worked.
So keeping that bloodthirster off the line.
What a sissy bitch. No, we saw this last week too, where he's instead of putting him on the line, he's using him as the point man for his cage.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful move, especially if that character doesn't wild animal.
Yeah.
And even if he does, he can usually fill somebody to put the spot in.
Exactly. And he's got it set up where he's got an extra point man up front with the cultists.
Yep. And he's You got some pressure moving in. Brett. Oh!
Fuck you!
Brett uses hug. Pilgrim does not want.
So, Brett...
That was it. That was it. Brett did nothing the entire last half. So I'm like, well, you know what? Either he's gonna make it or he's not. Plus, you know, with Wild Animal, he's gonna. It's
+2,
less of a risk if he blitzes.
So. That's Bloodthirster gone on the first turn of each half.
Yeah, he was pretty upset. The chat log was
on fire.
Was comedic. I didn't even see that he was posted on the Facebook on that one. So that was pretty funny. When I finished the game, I could see he's like two turns in a row.
That's pretty crazy.
But you and I talked about earlier, the one in armor value doesn't help with anyone with claws. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the downfall. He could have picked up some other abilities that I think would have been better, because it's going to come down to nobody's going to really. I don't think anybody's going to mess with that Bloodthirster too much unless they have the ability to take it out pretty efficiently.
Yeah, and that's really the only reason that I was willing to go for him as hard as I was, because that character in particular is probably the only one who's gonna be capable of menacing him in a way that's effective enough.
Yeah, so you got by that frenzy into a 1-die.
Yeah, knew it was a risk, but didn't really think that it was. And you know, as soon as it fails, you're like, well, that was terrible. Yeah,
you've got a pretty stout player advantage right now with how many injuries you've been going, so it's going to be tough for him to get many yards out of this. Honestly, yeah. I probably wouldn't have gone to the far... oh, he had a guy over there.
Yeah.
Oh, that was actually... No, I did not see that. That was a really good move. I liked everything that he did.
That play was so stealthy, no one noticed it.
Yep,
in the replay.
I didn't.
That was the guy that I had. You see that lineman off there to the left? He was painted on him.
He still has this guy, and he's a strength 2. I would have cut him.
Yeah, I feel that.
That guy's...
Well, if he had got a touchdown, you would have had to suck it.
That's true.
I would have just...
But even in the first half, I was going after him pretty hard, and I believe that this half you're going to see me go after that guy a lot too, because 1-to-1, I outmatch him in strength. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he can ever tie me up. He's going to get dead eventually. You know what I mean? Somebody with a strength 3 is just going to hit him all day. No big deal.
That tackle's a little good on him. I mean, he can cut down some lanes, especially on dodge teams, but other than that, he's just eating up your team value.
Right. I know, just one of those things I just did. Oh, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. You know, there's nothing you can do about that, man. He rolled 2s twice, and all he needed was a 3, so... And all his guys were tied up. There's nothing else he could have done but that dodge, so that's just sometimes how the dice fall.
Right. Definitely didn't get him, you know, I put him in a situation where he had to do something like that, and that's the benefit of putting pressure on your opponent. And you know, right now I just have the player advantage where I'm able to do that. And this is kind of like I look at the second half and I go, man, I kind of played pretty garbagey. He really had that touchdown. I wouldn't say it was locked in with a pass like that, but the ball got thrown into an advantageous place for me.
I mean, all he did for that touchdown, all he missed was a 3+. I mean, that was a 3+ between him not catching that ball and a 3+ of him not, you know. I mean, we had to see the block dice as well, but not putting you down as well while you're handling that ball in the middle. So just you know, you can see how 2 rolls can really screw it up.
Yeah, and that's why I said, I mean, he played top-notch Blood Bowl the whole time, so I'm away, and it's not gonna nothing you can do. But I'm not, at the same time, I'm not going to.
Brett likes to put himself down.
Yeah, that'll happen.
He needed that nap. He already did his job.
Yeah, Brett.
But look at that. He hit 2 guys that didn't pen, but
Yeah.
what did he do? Bloodthirster. Done and done.
Woo.
So he's going to get an entire round in there because I'm too chicken shit to go to roll a going for it
2 going for
into
it.
the touchdown. Yeah, but what's the use of that when I know he can't get me?
Yeah.
And this is the one he was even like, why'd you throw that? I was like, meh, I'd re-rolls.
Bloodthirster doesn't look like he's going to be playing the game now. I don't think there's going to be a 4th drive. That's rough. And
Yeah.
Unless something spicy happens, it looks like it's going to end 1-0.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty confident at this time, and that's the way to go. So now, instead of looking to have to stay up, gotta keep the defense going, but at the same time, looking for opportunities to get star player points to kind of hit hard and hit smart.
Yeah. Probably, man, he might be just trying to get number 4, trying to get him maybe box cars to get him a strength bonus or something like that. But that guy, man, that his team value is so big right now. That player is part of that. I think pit fighters are 60,000, and then block and tackle are I believe both standard abilities that he's able to get. So that brings him up to a 100,000 salary, which brings his team value up by 100 points. That's potentially 100, potentially a reroll in inducements or 2 Bloodweiser babes or anything like that, 2 bribes in inducements that player's eating up.
But because he has a deficiency in strength, does that lower his value?
No injuries. The injuries do not reduce his value.
Actually, it was his team value that helped me beat him in the second week. If he didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to get... I had an absurd number of...
Yeah, you plummeted his rerolls. I remember that because you had the Bloodweiser babes, or sorry, you had the Halfling Master Steps, and then you also had other bonuses.
I think I had a wizard too.
Yeah,
like, I just had everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing that these especially this is a game with both higher level teams that people are going to have to start balancing is their team value versus especially the lower end teams, just because those inducements can make a huge difference if bought properly and used properly.
Yeah, he outplayed me the whole 2 weeks in a row, and I only lost by 1 the first week, and I beat him the second week because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just shows how important that can be. Those rerolls are super important. Look at him right now, because you can almost tell who's winning and who's losing by the rerolls.
Yeah.
But, because he's losing, he's got to be a little more open to risk.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play it safe when you're for sure going to lose if you don't make an effort.
Yeah. For that one, the only thing I have on closing is probably for the Crazy 8's. Check your treasury, check your roster, see where your weak leaks are, and start cutting them. You need to. Your team value is pretty high. I think it's somewhere around high 1800s.
1900.
1900. So yeah, you need to start trimming that down. A lot of the teams are at about 10. Some teams are even below 10. So they're getting about 900,000 in inducements against you. They're basically buying another team to play you.
He's only got 12 players too. So
yeah. What's his treasury at?
80,000.
80,000. So he can afford a pit fighter. I think he's maxed out on
80,000.
Yeah, he's got a low because remember he's got those.
I have 700,000.
Yeah, well keep in mind he's got 5 rerolls. He's got the 8 cheerleaders and the 8 assistant coaches. Man, those are almost the cheerleaders and the assistant coaches are almost 200 team value right there, and yeah.
Rerolls are I guess it's 350.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, his rerolls are worth 70 apiece for team value. So that's why, you know, and your rerolls are going to be expensive. That's a huge part of your team, so you have to have them. But
Right.
yeah, he needs to maybe look into slimming his team a little bit, maybe cutting that player that's a strength 2, unless he's trying to get that player leveled up. If he likes the player, he likes the player. I got nothing against that. I've had players that were injured that I kept around because I just liked them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but for the game itself, I don't think Crazy 8's did anything bad, honestly. I think they played a really good game. It's just a couple rules didn't go in their way, and because the pens were so high, with so many KOs and casualties sustained, that he just couldn't make up for any die rolls with bodies. So.
Yeah, and you know, pulling that Bloodthirster out of the match, that was just so critical to my success.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, and obviously I got nothing for you. That was didn't have a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. So my game was pretty straightforward. I think the match rating shows that it was a pretty straightforward game as well.
Yep, good stuff.
All right. And that's want to thank Gimpy for showing up.
Thanks, buddy.
Be here.
And we will see you for the next game. Cheers.
Cheers.